My name is Jessica, and for 25 years I lived under my mother's shadow. I thought our little home in Timber Falls Estates was safe until everything changed. Now I'm about to marry the love of my life, only to face the biggest betrayal yet. Please like and drop a comment, and please do not subscribe to the YouTube channel for more revenge stories like this. I'm Jessica, I'm 25 years old, and this is the story of how my family's demands nearly destroyed my wedding. It all began on a sunny afternoon in early June. My fiancé Michael and I were sitting in our tiny kitchen, counting the last of our wedding budget. We had scraped together $15,000 to pay for the hall in Cedar Pines Community Center, the flowers, the band, and the photographer. I could hardly believe how perfect everything looked. My white dress arrived last week. Michael polished his suit until it shone. In 2 weeks, we would stand in front of our friends and family and promise forever. My golden sister, Amber, had been my light since we were little girls. Adopted when I was 5, she brought laughter and sunshine to our home. Everyone adored her. My mother, Laura, the same woman who had spent years praising Amber's every move, suddenly became different when it came to my big day. The change came like a thunderclap. One evening, I found my mother in the living room, her voice shaking. "Jessica," she said, "I've been thinking. Amber's feelings are very delicate right now." She paused, as if weighing her next words carefully. "I think you should cancel your wedding." I stared at her, confused. "Cancel my wedding? Why?" "Amber is upset," Mom said, her eyes filling with forced sympathy. "She has trouble with big celebrations. It reminds her of her past. She might never forgive you if you go ahead." My heart sank, but it's my wedding. I planned it with Michael. We've paid everything. Mom shook her head. "I'm sorry, but family comes first. Please, for Amber's sake." Her demand felt like ice water in my veins. How could she put Amber's feelings above my lifelong dream? Yet Mom's expression was so earnest, I feared she believed every word. I tried to reason, to explain how important this was to me and Michael, but she refused to listen. She insisted I call off everything. Even though invitations had gone out, deposits were non-refundable, and our hearts were set on that day. My chest tightened with anger and hurt. How dare she control my life this way? That night, I lay awake, my mind racing. I thought of Amber's bright smile when she wore her first dress at age 8. I thought of Mom's hugs at night. How had things turned so dark? I realized that if I let Mom win, I would lose my happiness and Michael. The next morning, I made a decision. I would not cancel my wedding, but I needed to send a message so loud and clear that no one would ever try to steal my future again. I would turn the tables in a way they would never forget. A week before the wedding, I told Michael what happened. He looked at me with fierce determination. "No one messes with my bride," he said, kissing my forehead. "We'll handle this together." We began planning a surprise. We invited only the people who truly loved us. Some distant cousins who never RSVP'd were quietly uninvited. Anyone who sided with Mom or lived too close to her influence was left off the list. We tightened security at the hall. We even hired a bouncer to stand by the doors, in case Mom tried to barge in. With each secret prep task, my excitement grew. I felt like a hero in my own story, taking charge of my destiny. Every evening, I'd watch Amber's social media posts, photos of her at dance class, her new job at the art gallery, hoping she'd soften and send congratulations. But the post stayed silent. The golden sister who once called me best big sis now looked past my happy news as if I didn't exist. On the Thursday before the wedding, I invited Amber for coffee at her favorite cafe, Maple and Bean. I wanted to bridge the gap, to make things right. I gulped espresso and rehearsed my words. When she arrived, she gave me a quick hug, her eyes guarded. "Thanks for inviting me," she said softly. I leaned forward. "Amber, I love you. My wedding day won't be the same without you there. I just want to be a family." She chewed her lip. Mom says I might feel left out. She's worried I'll get upset. I shook my head. That's not true. I want you there. I promise to make you feel special. Amber studied me, her face unreadable. Then she nodded slowly. Okay, I'll come, but only if Mom doesn't force me to do things I don't want. My chest loosened. Was this real? Could she come back to my side? I texted Michael the good news with a heart emoji. He jumped up and down at the sight of my text, making me laugh. But that night, Mom called me in her room. She was furious. Amber would not be allowed to attend. You made a deal behind my back, she said. You've broken our family code. I stood my ground. Mom, I love Amber. I invited her. You can't control her. She slammed her hand on the dresser. You women think you can outsmart me? I raised you. The fight ended with Mom storming out. I realized then that nothing would stop her at this point. She would do everything to sabotage my day. 2 days before the wedding, Michael and I held a small rehearsal dinner at our favorite Italian place, Luigi's on Main. We laughed and toasted. My best friend Zoe gave me a framed photo collage of our childhood, with pictures of Amber and me playing in the yard. I felt warm and thankful. Suddenly, our waiter dropped a whole tray of glasses with a crash. Everyone jumped. Zoe hid her face behind her napkin. I shook off my startle and laughed. But a chill ran through me, like life was reminding me that chaos could strike at any moment. Michael grabbed my hand. Everything's going to be perfect. I nodded, though my heart fluttered. That night, I barely slept. I pictured the wide doors of the Cedar Pines Hall, all my bridesmaids in soft blush dresses, Michael waiting at the altar. I pictured Mom and Amber arriving or not. I knew I had to be ready for either. Morning of the wedding day. My hands trembled as I buttoned my dress in the bridal suite at Cedar Pines. The place smelled of fresh flowers. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Joyful music played softly. Zoe and 2 bridesmaids fussed over my hair. Michael's face appeared in the doorway, and I felt my breath catch. He smiled like the sun rising. Then I saw her. Mom stood by the door, dressed in a simple blue dress, her eyes cold. She was not alone. Amber hovered behind her, clutching her purse, looking pale and troubled. My heart pounded. I opened my mouth, but no words came. The room felt frozen. All around me, the bustle of wedding prep paused. My mother walked slowly toward me. I came, she said, and Amber too. Tears welled in my eyes. Amber, you're here? Amber's eyes flicked to Mom. She whispered I had to. Mom held up a phone. I have a video. She tapped the screen and a hush fell. In the video, Amber's voice trembled as she explained how I had forgotten her at every birthday party for years. She said she felt like I hated her. She pleaded for me to cancel the wedding. Just this one thing, to show I loved her more. My throat tightened. Michael reached out to me. Jess. I realized too late Mom had set a trap. The video would play at the ceremony, making everyone think I was a terrible sister. I felt the room close in. My dream day was unraveling in front of my eyes. I had one chance to stop it. I took a deep breath and whispered to Michael, "It's time." And that's when I made my move. But just as I stepped forward, a scream echoed from the main hall. The heavy wooden doors burst open, and a man I didn't know tore inside, shouting my name. The crowd gasped. All eyes turned. I froze. What was happening? The man's face was hidden by shadow, but his voice rang out, urgent and angry. "Jessica, you took everything from me." The room spun. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. And then the candles lining the aisle burst into flame without warning. The soft pink petals on the floor caught fire, sending smoke curling toward the ceiling. Everyone ran back as sparks flew. Bridesmaids screamed. Guests stumbled over chairs. In that moment, I knew my wedding day had become a battlefield I never saw coming. I froze as the smoke curled upward and the flames licked the edge of the petal-strewn aisle. Guests stumbled back, and I could hear Zoe's terrified cry. Michael grabbed my hand and pulled me behind a row of chairs. The unknown man stood in the doorway, his face half hidden by the shadows, his eyes wild. "Jessica," he shouted again, "you took everything from me." My heart pounded, so hard it felt like thunder in my ears. I tried to look past him at the ceremony space, but the fire blocked my view. The bouncer hustled forward, stepping between the man and the flames, while another rushed to grab an extinguisher. Mom screamed, clutching Amber. "Call the fire department!" she cried, fumbling for her phone. Michael shook his head. "No time. Let me handle this." Before I could stop him, he shoved past the bouncer and strode toward the intruder. The man stepped back, surprised, and Michael grabbed his arm. A chair clattered to the floor. I strained to hear their muffled voices. "Who are you?" Michael demanded. The intruder yanked his arm free and stumbled forward. "I'm your best man's brother. You said you'd help me get a job at the studio. You never showed." I felt my stomach drop. Jake's brother? Michael's best friend, Tom, had a brother named Adam. Adam had begged Michael to get him a job as a stagehand at the local TV studio, and Michael had promised. But Michael had been busy with wedding plans and forgotten. I swallowed. "Michael, that's Adam. He's upset." But the fire spread faster now, the flames dancing among the flowers. A gust of wind blew through the open doors, feeding the blaze. The bouncer and 2 guests sprayed foam until the fire hissed and died, leaving charred petals and a smoldering mess. Smoke stung everyone's eyes. A fire alarm wailed somewhere in the hall. Amber began to cry softly behind Mom. Guests whispered and edged toward the exits. The band froze, instruments in hand. Plates of food sat untouched on a table, cakes half decorated, confetti dripping from the ceiling. I looked at Michael, panting. "Is he okay?" He rubbed his arm where Adam had scratched him. "He'll live. But he's right, I forgot." He glanced at me. "I'm so sorry." Tears blurred my vision. This was my wedding day, but it felt like chaos. I should have shouted, "Stop!" But I didn't. I just stood there, numb. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone must have called 911. Within minutes, a fire truck pulled up outside and firefighters rushed in, checking for any spark left. A paramedic hovered near Adam, who sat on a chair, head in his hands. Michael knelt beside him. "Adam, I'm sorry. I promise I'll make it right." Adam looked up, his eyes red. "You ruined everything," he said. "My job, my life. I had nothing left." I felt a strange mix of anger and pity. He was hurting, yes, but ruining my wedding? That was unfair. A firefighter waved us back as the smoke cleared. Flames were out. The hall's manager peered in, his face grave. "We can't continue until the hall is safe," he said. "You'll need to clear out." Guests began to drift away, murmuring about the fire, the intruder, the police. My perfect day was slipping away in black smoke and broken chairs. I sank to my knees by the charred aisle runner. The white lace was burned around the edges. My dress had a small scorch on the hem. I stared at it, feeling defeated. Michael knelt beside me. "Jess, I know this is awful. I'll fix it. I swear I'll fix everything." I couldn't speak. My dream of walking down the aisle in a sea of smiles had gone up in smoke, literally. I could hear Amber sobbing next to Mom, bitter tears that stung worse than any smoke. Then I felt Zoe's hand on my shoulder. "Jess, come on. Let's go home. We'll figure it out." Her voice was gentle but firm. I looked around. The hall was a mess. Firefighters flicked off hoses. Chairs sat overturned. And outside, blue lights danced on the pavement. I nodded, and Michael helped me to my feet. Adam was being led away by a policeman, still shouting angry words. Mom stood frozen, her face pale. We walked out into the warm June evening. The breeze felt calm compared to the chaos inside. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I realized then that this was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke on the couch in my small apartment. Michael was curled beside me, his arm around my waist. The TV played a sleepy morning show. The news anchor's voice droned on about a minor fire at Cedar Pines and a strange wedding day intruder. I rolled over and faced him. "We have to cancel," I whispered. "Everything." Fresh tears pricked my eyes. He blinked at the ceiling, then looked at me. "Let's not decide today." He brushed my hair back. "We have 2 weeks until the new date. We can figure this out." "New date?" I sat up. He smiled softly. "I talked to the hall manager. He can clear the damage, repaint if needed. We can do it again in 2 weeks." I stared at him. "After this?" My voice shook. "After the fire," the video mom played Adam's outburst. He took my hand. "I know, but you deserve your day. I want to marry you." I swallowed. His faith in me and in us warmed my heart. I nodded slowly. "Okay, 2 weeks." He kissed my forehead. "Let's start fresh." I sighed and lay back down. "But first coffee." He laughed and we climbed off the couch. The day outside was bright and quiet. I had never appreciated silence so much. Over the next few days, I worked with Michael to rebuild. We visited Cedar Pines, met the repair crew, and rebooked the caterer. We even called the florist to replace the singed bouquets. My mother's calls went to voicemail. Amber texted once, "Good luck." No mention of regrets or apology. Meanwhile, the video mom had shown was all over social media. A short clip someone recorded on their phone during the rehearsal dinner, mom pressing play on her phone, had gone viral. Comments poured in. Some people blamed me. Others called mom cruel. News of the wedding sabotage made headlines in our town's online paper. Our story was everywhere. I stared at my phone, my heart twisting. I hated that my private nightmare was public, but I also felt a strange power. People were on my side. Even strangers wanted me to win. One afternoon, Zoe arrived at my door with pizza. "You look like you need pepperoni and cheese therapy." I took a slice and sank onto the couch. I can't believe how mom did this. And that video. Zoe sat next to me. "She's desperate. She can't stand that you get to be happy. But you're stronger than her." I nodded, chewing. "I want to make her pay, but not with fire or secrets this time. I want to win fair and square." Zoe's eyes lit up. "Then let's plan a surprise so big it'll blow her mind." I smiled for the first time in days. "I'm listening." That evening, Michael and I met at Luigi's again, the same place we'd had the rehearsal dinner. It felt good to sit in a familiar spot. We sketched ideas on a napkin. "What if," Michael said, "we turn the reception into something she can't ignore, like a big video tribute that shows how much Amber means to you and how much you love mom too. You know, make her own medicine." I tapped the napkin. "A video montage? But mom will just skip it or make fun of me." He leaned forward. "What if we surprise her? Like, bring her on stage, blindfolded, and then play the video for everyone. Force her to watch." I laughed at the thought. She'd hate that, but it would be memorable. Michael grinned. "Then let's do it." I felt a thrill. This plan could turn the tables completely. Mom would see everyone cheering for me, watching me explain how much family means. She wouldn't be able to control the narrative. I took out my phone and typed a message to Zoe. "Need your help collecting video clips for tribute. Are you in?" Within seconds, she replied, born ready. "Let's get to work." As we plodded late into the night, I felt hope bloom in my chest. I would not let anger consume me. I would show kindness, love, and creativity. I would teach everyone, including mom, that kindness always wins. But as I drifted to sleep that night, a loud crash rocked my window. I jolted awake to see a dark figure smashing the glass with a rock. Red spray, paint flicked the wall outside. "Cheater." My scream echoed into the darkness as shards of glass rained down. And in that moment, I realized the battle for my wedding was far from over. Shards of glass tinkled on the floor like tiny bells as I jumped back from the window. The red letters "Cheater" glowed in the moonlight, dripping down the white siding of my apartment. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would burst through my ribcage. Outside, the rock that broke the pane lay on the windowsill, cold and rough. I stared at the smashed glass and the painted word. It looked like someone wanted to hurt me. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them away. I would not let fear win. Michael must have heard the crash. He burst into the room, running straight toward me. "Jess, are you okay?" I tested my voice. I'm fine." I touched the broken pane with a gloved hand. "But look." I pointed at the spray paint. He read the word and his face went pale. "Who would do this?" I shook my head. "I don't know." I swallowed. "But they called me a cheater." He pulled me close. "You're not a cheater." I leaned into him. "I know, but they're trying to scare me." He kissed my forehead. "They won't." He looked out the window. "Stay here. I'll call the police." I nodded and hugged my knees. The room felt cold. Outside, the street was empty and silent. I heard a siren in the distance. Inside, my phone buzzed. Zoe's name flashed on the screen. I answered. "Jess, are you okay?" she whispered. I swallowed. Someone smashed my window and spray-painted cheater. Zoe growled. "That's Mom or one of her spies." I bit my lip. I don't know who, but I want to be strong. I need to finish the video tribute. Zoe's voice cheered. "Absolutely. I'll bring the clips tomorrow. You'll see, this ends with you walking down the aisle smiling." I managed a small smile. "Thanks, Zoe." After I hung up, Michael returned. 2 officers came in behind him. They knelt by the window, examined the shards, the paint, and took notes on their pads. "Miss Andrews," one officer said politely, "will process the graffiti and try to find fingerprints. Do you have any idea who might be behind this?" I closed my eyes and pictured Mom's angry face, Amber's pale worry. My voice felt firm when I spoke. It could be my mother or someone she hired. They've done everything to ruin my wedding. The officer nodded. "We'll look into it. In the meantime, you might consider boarding up the window or moving to a safer place until your wedding is over." Michael squeezed my hand. "We'll do whatever it takes." Later that night, after the police left, we covered the broken glass with a wooden board. The red paint looked even more menacing in the hallway light. Michael tightened the board with screws while I held it steady. When it was done, we stood back. The jagged hole was gone, but the message still haunted us. He wrapped his arms around me. "We'll fix this. And no matter what happens, I love you." I rested my head on his chest. His heartbeat was steady and sure. For a moment, I felt safe. The next afternoon, I met Zoe at the local cafe Maple and Bean, the same place where I'd begged Amber to come. The cozy smell of coffee and fresh pastries filled the air. I sat at our usual table, trying to smile. Zoe slid into the seat across from me, balancing a tray loaded with her favorite caramel latte and a plate of muffins. "Okay," she said, "I brought half the clips. We've got your childhood friends, your college roommate Randy, even Mrs. Martinez, your old ballet teacher." I grinned. Randy always filmed everything. "And Mrs. M will make everyone cry." Zoe nodded. "Exactly. We need real emotion. We'll build up to the big surprise, but I need your help on one part." I leaned forward. "Tell me." She tapped her finger on the table. "We need someone to pretend they forgot the wedding, then surprise them with a clip where they say they can't miss this day. It'll make the audience feel relief and joy." I thought of Tom, Michael's best friend. He'd been so busy with work that he almost didn't RSVP. I texted Tom. 2 minutes later, his reply popped up. "I'll do anything. Text me the details." I looked at Zoe. "That's perfect. He'll help." We spent the next hour mapping out the montage on napkins. We wrote the order. First, photos of me as a shy little girl beside Amber. Then video clips of my friends saying what they love about me. Next, a pretend forgetful RSVP from Tom. And finally, Michael speaking straight to the camera, saying why he can't wait to marry me. Zoe sipped her latte. This will show Mom exactly what family means. And no one can stand against that. I nodded, feeling hope rising again. The storm of broken glass and graffiti felt less heavy with every plan we made. That evening, we practiced editing on my laptop. Zoe dragged clips into place. We measured every second. I wrote the text that would appear on screen. Family is love. Today, we celebrate together. When we finished a rough cut, I pressed play. My mouth went dry as the video began. There I was 5 years old, giggling in a pink tutu next to Amber. Then Mrs. Martinez's soft voice praising my dancing. Then Randy's goofy face saying, "Jess, you're brave and strong." Then Tom's mock confusion. "Wait, there's a wedding?" I completely forgot. Oh wow, I can't miss this for anything. I laughed and wiped away a tear. Finally, Michael's face filled the screen. "Jessica, you are my best friend. I love you more than anything. I can't wait to call you my wife." The final image froze on our smiling faces. The words, "We invite you to celebrate love and family," faded in. I closed my laptop and looked at Zoe. "It's perfect." She grinned. "Tomorrow we'll test it on a small group, your friends and family who support you. Then we'll be ready for the big day." I felt excitement flutter inside me. Then my phone buzzed. A new text message. "Stop this wedding or else." The text had no name, no number, just those words. My smile vanished. I showed Zoe the message. She frowned. "They're trying to scare you again." I swallowed. "They won't stop. But we can't let them win." Zoe reached across and squeezed my hand. "We won't let them." The next morning, Michael and I drove to Cedar Pines Community Center to meet the repair crew. The hall looked brand new. The charred marks were gone, the flowers replaced, fresh paint shining on the walls. Chairs stood neat in rows of blush and white. I felt a rush of happiness. It looked like a fairy tale. I imagined walking down the aisle again, feeling safe and loved. As we checked the sound system, the manager, Mr. Delgado, approached. He wore a worried look. "Miss Andrews, I'm sorry to disturb, but there's something you need to see." He led us to the storage closet near the back door. Inside, we found dozens of white envelopes neatly stacked on a table. Each envelope had our names in elegant script. Jessica Andrews and Michael Reynolds' wedding. I picked one up and opened it. Inside was a small card with a single word, "liar." Michael's jaw clenched. He opened another envelope. Same handwriting, "liar." My heart sank. Someone had mailed hateful notes and left them at the hall. They must have slipped in when the repair crew wasn't looking. Mr. Delgado cleared his throat. "We reported this to security, but they haven't found the culprit. I'm so sorry." I closed the last envelope and took a deep breath. "Thank you for telling us. We'll handle it." As we left the closet, I heard a soft click behind the door. I spun around. The handle turned on its own. The closet door swung open, only to reveal no one. A chill ran down my spine. I raced back inside. The envelopes were gone. The table was empty. Michael stood beside me, pale. "They were just here." I ran a finger along the wood. "They left, but they know where I'll come next." We hurried back into the main hall. The soft morning light filled the room. It looked peaceful, but I knew better. Someone was watching. Someone wanted to stop my wedding at any cost. I took Michael's hand. "We can't hide forever." He nodded. "Then we fight back with love." I squeezed his hand, but my heart was heavy. We had a plan for the video tribute, but these threats kept growing. I realized we had one chance to show our real selves in front of everyone and make our family see that love always conquers fear. I straightened my shoulders. Tomorrow we show them, and then we end this. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind raced with threats and plans. I heard a faint click. I sat up. In the hallway outside my door, a soft light glowed under the crack. I held my breath and crept to the door. I pressed my ear against the wood. Silence. Then the doorknob rattled. My blood froze. I grabbed my phone and hit the flashlight. The knob turned slowly. With a final, harsh click, the door swung open. And standing there, grinning in the dim light, was my mother holding a small box covered in black velvet. "I brought your wedding gift," she said softly. My heart hammered. I realized then, the war for my wedding had reached the front door, and nothing would ever be the same again. My mother stood in the doorway, the small black velvet box trembling in her hand. Her eyes were soft, but underneath I saw the same determination that had driven her to sabotage my wedding. I held Michael's hand behind me, feeling his steady strength. "I brought your wedding gift," Mom said again, her voice low. I swallowed. "Thank you, but I think we need to talk." She hesitated. Then she stepped inside and closed the door. The hallway light flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. I led her into the living room, where Michael waited. The flickering TV played news footage of our story, but I turned it off. Mom placed the box on the coffee table and sank onto the couch. Her blue dress looked soft in the lamplight. Amber hovered behind her, silent and pale. I took a deep breath. "Mom, please tell me why you did all of this. Why did you try to stop my wedding?" Mom's hands shook as she opened the box. Inside lay a simple silver locket shaped like a heart. I recognized it, my grandmother's. Mom closed her eyes and pressed her hand to her chest. "I was scared," she said quietly. "When you were born, I thought I'd lost Amber's place in my heart. I loved both of you, but I felt guilty for not being able to give you enough. When Amber came, she was perfect and bright. And you were little me, broken me. I didn't think I could handle two girls to love." My throat tightened. I looked at Michael, whose eyes were full of concern. Mom opened the locket, and inside was a tiny photo of me as a baby, my chubby cheeks smiling up at her. "I gave this to your father when you were born," she said. "I promised to protect you, but I felt I had to protect Amber more. I thought if I let you have your moment, it would take away hers." Tears blurred my vision. I remembered riding my bike, falling and scraping my knee and Mom rushing to pick me up. I remembered her hugging me and whispering everything would be okay. I realized she had never stopped loving me. She had just been overwhelmed. I knelt by her feet. "Mom, I love Amber and you, but I needed you to trust me. Trust me to be happy." She reached out and touched my face. Her tears fell onto my hand. "I'm sorry, Jessica. I was wrong. I should have helped you plan your day, not ruined it." Amber stepped forward, her voice soft. "I'm sorry too. I was scared Mom would leave me. I didn't think you needed anyone more than me." I stood and took Amber's hand. "I will always need you. You're my sister, my best friend." Michael moved beside me and wrapped his arms around both of us. "We're family," he said, "and today we finish this wedding together." Mom nodded, her shoulders shaking. "Please forgive me." I smiled through my tears. "I already have." The next morning, the sun rose golden over Timber Falls Estates. I woke to find Mom and Amber in the kitchen, baking cupcakes. Pink frosting covered the counter. I slipped on my robe and wandered in. Mom held a bowl of batter and handed me a whisk. Amber stood by the mixer, giggling when she accidentally splattered sugar on Mom's nose. I laughed, feeling more peaceful than I had in weeks. "These look amazing." Amber winked. "We're making them for your wedding. Special family recipe." I hugged them both. "Thank you." Michael appeared in the doorway, his suit jacket hanging on a hanger. "Ready, Jess." I nodded and stepped back to let him inside. He smiled and brushed sugary flour from my hair. You look beautiful. I hugged him. Let's do this. Cedar Pines Community Center looked even more magical than before. White drapes framed the entrance. Rows of chairs lined a soft pink aisle, and at the end, a wooden arch entwined with fresh flowers. Our friends and family gathered, chatting quietly. The air smelled of roses and fresh bread from the caterer's warm pans. Mom and Amber stood together near the front row. They wore matching soft blue dresses, and Amber's hand squeezed Mom's. I felt a surge of pride. They were here, supporting me. Michael squeezed my hand and nodded toward the back door. It was time. I took a deep breath and stepped into the corridor. Soft music began. My heart fluttered like a bird. I clutched the video remote in my pocket, but this time I wasn't nervous. I was certain. I walked down the aisle. Each step felt light. Guests stood and smiled. Zoe and Randy waved. Tom gave me an encouraging thumbs up. Adam, now calm and in a neat shirt, gave me a gentle nod. Even the bouncer from the first fire incident stood at attention and saluted with a grin. When I reached the arch, Michael turned and held out his hand. His eyes glowed with love. I placed my hand in his, and together we faced our family and friends. The crowd settled. I pressed a button on the remote in Michael's pocket. The video tribute began on a large screen beside the arch. Soft laughter and tears of joy filled the room as childhood clips played. Friends spoke of love and kindness. Tom's pretend forgetfulness turned to real excitement. And finally Michael's promise of forever. At the video's end, I stepped forward and spoke softly so everyone could hear. This day was almost stolen from me, but I stood here because of love, your love, my family's love, and Michael's love. Kindness and trust pulled me through every scare. I forgive anyone who doubted me. Today, I celebrate all of us together. A hush fell. Then the room erupted in applause. Mom covered her mouth, tears shining on her cheeks. Amber wiped her eyes and nodded. Michael kissed my hand and guided me to stand beside him under the arch. The minister smiled and began the ceremony. Vows were exchanged, simple words from our hearts. Rings slid onto fingers. We kissed, and the audience cheered as if the whole world lit up. After the ceremony, the reception began. Music played, and we danced under strings of fairy lights. Cupcakes lined the dessert table, topped with tiny silver lockets. Guests hugged me and Michael. Mom and Amber approached with the small black velvet box from the night before. Mom opened it and took out the locket from the box. "This is for you, Jessica," she said. "All these years I kept it safe. Now I want you to have it." I took it gently and put it around my neck. The silver heart sat over my wedding gown, warm against my skin. Amber smiled and kissed my cheek. We did it. Mom hugged both of us. "I'm proud of you." As the sun set, golden rays filtered through the windows. I stood between Michael, Mom, and Amber, and I felt complete. The anger, fear, and grief had turned to forgiveness, love, and joy. Later, at the end of the night, Michael lifted me in his arms. "You did it, Mrs. Reynolds," he whispered. I laughed and wrapped my arms around his neck. We did it. I looked around at our family and friends, dancing and smiling. My mother danced with my sister. Zoe and Randy laughed over coffee. Tom told jokes. Adam clapped along. I held Michael's hand and looked at the ceiling of twinkling lights. I felt a soft breeze and heard distant crickets outside. My heart was full. I knew that sharing this story, even on YouTube, would help others see the power of kindness. Revenge can be sweet, but forgiveness is sweeter. Love always wins in the end. And this was the perfect ending to my wedding, and the perfect beginning to our life together.